4 or 5 minutes on the field. Actually scored a goal and I was like, oh, this is going to be a good game, good start. And then, yeah, bang, shoulder, dislocated it. Round one was a good wake-up call. When we lose the following week or two, we actually play our best because I suppose we don't want to go through that again, go through the dreaded review, see our mistakes. Over half our team probably have played over 50 games together. It's like even not just on the field, but off the field, we all hang out together. And I think that really helps with your on-team success as well. I love going home and being around family. I think I do want to end up back home in Ireland.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the PD Performance Podcast. Two-time Premiership winner and two-time PD Performance guest this time. It's Orla O'Dwyer from the Brisbane Lions and Tipperary. We had a lot to catch up on. This is our second time on the podcast. Mid-season, post-shoulder injury. So we went into that. We found out why she's so driven and why Irish players get on so well over here. And we talked about the future in the Aflw and the comp for the Brisbane Lions this season. So hopefully you enjoy it, and if you do enjoy it, please remember to like it, share it and send it. Orla, welcome back to the PD Performance Podcast.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here. Good to be back.
I think you're the third person to be on the podcast twice.
Really?
Yeah.
Who were the other two?
A strength and conditioning coach, Graham Morris, and David Gray of David Gray Rehab from Waterford. He's a physical therapist. So you're the first athlete.
Wow, great. That's good. That's good to know.
A long time ago since we recorded the first one.
Yeah.
2022?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
And we were joking off air, and I'd said it to you that I'm definitely bad luck for you because the last time we spoke, you were still rehabbing from shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
I think when I text you in relation to that episode, you were heading into surgery, and now I'm back in Australia, in Brisbane, and you're rehabbing a shoulder again.
I know. Yeah, there's something in that, I reckon. Fortunately, injured my shoulder 2 weeks ago now, just under 2 weeks. So there's no huge damage. So lucky enough, I still get to play the rest of the season. So just take a couple of weeks off, rehab it, and then get back. But yeah, not ideal, but do what we can.
I was watching the game, but I
still haven't watched it.
I turned it on late, so I missed it.
Okay.
And I was trying to pick you out on the field.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. And I was like, oh, where's Orla? That's not good. And then it went to half time. And
hand me crying.
Maybe it was quarter time. And no, they showed you scoring a goal. And I was like, oh, she is playing. And then the next thing they showed was you hitting the ground. And I was like, oh, no. And then I think I dropped you a message then pretty much immediately.
Because we had it organised. Yeah. No, the way it turned out, I think I got about maybe 4 or 5 minutes on the field. Actually scored a goal and I was like, oh, this is going to be a good game, good start. And then, yeah, bang, shoulder, dislocated it. Yeah, I still haven't watched it back. I probably won't watch it back, but I heard it's pretty nasty, the looks of it. Yeah, I suppose it's just getting used to it again. I've been through it, so I kind of know what to expect if I look at the kind of positives out of it. Yeah, and I have a great bunch of people around me, like our physios, strength and conditioning coach, psychologist, teammates. They're all so good and supportive as well. So no doubt I'll get back stronger once the season's over and see what happens then.
We're in danger of having the exact same conversation we had last time, so I'm going to
I'll have two good
sidetrack it. Yeah, well, that's what I had actually noticed when you went down and I was watching it, was when you went down, it was your right shoulder this time?
No, it was my left. My right one was strapped from my previous.
Yes, sorry. You went down, it was the left one. I saw the other one was strapped, and I'd remembered that you had been on post-shoulder surgery, and I was thinking, oh God, I don't think she's injured that shoulder before.
Yeah, no, because I actually, when it happened, I'm like, the club were great, and I actually got to see my shoulder surgeon the day after the game, and he was like, why is your right shoulder strapped? I fixed that one. And I was like, oh, I just like having it as precaution. Just like, I don't need to have a strap, but I'm just so used to it now. And then he was like, yeah. So then he was confused about it as well, like that. But yeah, unfortunately, I had no real issues with this one. But yeah, just the way it kind of landed. And it's funny because talking to my coach after, he was like, watch back the game. And it was I always roll left. I'm known for rolling left and just kicking. And it's the one time I rolled right, and I was like, oh, I got hit, but here we are.
Yeah, here we are. But in a way, you must be kind of thankful that it wasn't as bad as it could have been, because
100%.
We were just speaking about how the season is so short that you're at a risk of missing like half the season if you have any injuries.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's 10 games and finals, so if you are out for a couple of weeks, that could be nearly half a season. So it is pretty quick, and I think that was probably hard to take with it as well, is like the unknown straight after the game. Didn't know what damage I'd done, how long I would be out for as well. And I suppose once the season starts, you're in such a bubble. You've been, especially with condensed fixture now, we're playing midweek as well, so you don't know, you're kind of in a bubble, and you kind of are just focusing on the game and then getting ready for your next opposition. You could be flying to Perth, you could be flying to Melbourne, wherever it is. So while it's so intense, and not knowing what's going to happen as well and how long you'll be out for is a scary thing. So I think at the start I was pretty upset about it all, but I think once I got a plan in place and could see what my timeline looked like, it was a lot better this week.
But it's foreign to you to be watching on to training and to games from the sidelines. So how has that been? I know you're back training, but like...
Yeah, like last week I missed a game, and I actually had to, it was an away game they played down in Melbourne, so me and 2 other girls ended up staying in Brisbane. I ended up having the girls over and cooked them some dinner, and we watched the game, and it's just, yeah, it's obviously hard to watch the game and seeing the girls do so well, but lucky enough we're in such a good position and we've such a strong team and we're so competitive that people can step up, and it gives other girls opportunities as well to do that. So yeah, we got a great win the weekend, but yeah, bittersweet. But we did a hard session ourselves that morning, and I think I kind of enjoyed that. I kind of like torturing myself and running like whatever it was, 10, 11K, just to kind of get it out of your system and feel like you've done something as well. So yeah, same again kind of this week I'm out as well. So just mainly doing more body contact stuff this time, a lot of running. And yeah, trained all last night, which was good as well. So yeah, no, the light at the end of the tunnel's there. So hopefully just strengthen up another few days, be fine.
So you said it's kind of bittersweet watching the girls doing so well and winning, but I would imagine it'd be way worse to watch them lose.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And we're a team that don't do well with losing in general. Even if we win and play badly, we're all disappointed in ourselves, wanting to do better. So yeah, it was. And even that Adelaide game when I got injured, it was such a close game. We ended up winning, I think, by 2 points in the end or whatever it was. And that was when the boys won the previous day, the grand final. So there was a huge crowd there, and the boys actually came towards the end of the game, and we sang the song all together. But we wouldn't have sang the song if we lost. So yeah, it definitely was a bittersweet moment as well.
So that one blemish on the ladder of the loss this year, have you parked that then? Because you said you don't really do too well with losing, and are you just future focused on the next fixtures? Try not to give me the media trained answer here.
Yeah,
well. This isn't going out for a couple of weeks.
Okay, so. Yeah, like that round 1 was a good wake up call for us. The same kind of happened last year. We lost round 1, lost round 5, and lost round 9. And one thing that we actually done is I think when we lose the following week or 2, we actually play our best, because I suppose we don't want to go through that again, go through the dreaded review, see our mistakes. It's like any game. Like when you win games, you look at everything you've done well, and reviews are usually pretty good, but when you lose a game like that, it creates lots of learning opportunities and things you can improve on. And we got, that first game against North, they were an excellent side, and I think they probably had a lot of built-up emotion too after losing the grand final a couple of months previous. So we were the same when we came out against Melbourne last year after losing the grand final in 2022. So yeah, like that stays with you as well. So yeah, a couple of weeks now left, and then hopefully finals. But yeah, I think it kind of happened at a good time and gave us a good wake-up call.
But it's pretty tight at the top of the ladder at the moment. Like there seems to be a lot of teams doing really well, and then a lot of teams not doing so well.
Yeah, it's like we were just saying off air there. The thing about AFLW that I find is it's so unpredictable each year. So obviously players can move between different clubs each season or get traded, and they do it to, I suppose, equal up the teams and to kind of create that good good competitiveness, which is what the league needs and what the league wants. But compared to back home, if you're playing for your county and you're not doing well, you don't have a good group of girls coming through, well, you're just expected to lose every kind of game. And then there's teams that do well for a couple of years because they always have those girls coming through. So that's a big thing I noticed out here, is that you actually can't say who's going to be top 4 or top 8 because it just changes so much each year.
But you guys have been pretty consistent. So people are probably watching and thinking, how are Brisbane so consistent year on year?
Yeah, well, I think a good thing we have is we have a lot of, and we always talk about it, we have a lot of experienced players. So over half our team probably have played over 50 games together. We've had the same kind of group since I came in 2020. It's pretty much the same core group of girls with a few coming in and out each year, but that core group is there, and I think we really understand each other well, and I think that's huge. And we can have like even those tough conversations about positionings, or if things didn't go well, like we're all close enough to do that, and I think that's a huge part of being successful too.
Is that a natural thing, or do you focus on when rookies come in, like really consciously adopting them into the group?
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of both. I think our club go after certain types of people, and obviously you look at their physical profile and their skill, but it's also the type of person they are as well. And like that's a huge thing, even with our staff as well. The people we get in, we like them to be good people too, and have that real kind of intent with what they do. So yeah, like I said, like a lot of the girls are living together. I live with 4 other of the girls, which helps a lot, and a lot of us don't work as well at the moment, so it gives us that chance to meet up outside of training and to have those conversations about like people's lives, their families, and get to know each other that way. And the same with the younger girls coming in. We have like buddy systems where you look after the younger ones and bring them along as well. But yeah, no, it's a great environment to be part of, and I think a lot of the girls would say the same about that.
When you were being drafted over, they would have looked at what you could do on the football field, camogie field,
Yeah.
and your physical prowess as well. But did they also profile you in terms of your personality to see if you'd be a good fit?
Not particularly. So I came over with cross-coders, which at the time were an agency getting players to cross-code over because they didn't have enough AFLW players. And they just kind of send through clips of you playing camogie football, maybe some stat, GPS stuff. And if they're interested in that and they have the follow-up conversation, that's when you might do a Zoom or a FaceTime, and then they get to see your personality. So I always remember the Lions one. It was actually the boys were playing a GABA game. It was during their men's season, and Craig and Bree, who's our head coach and CEO, were doing a FaceTime with me under the ground, let's say, while the game was on. And I think it was just so in person, which I loved. And they really just asked me about my family, and they got to know me as a person, and I got to know them as well. So that's a huge part of it. And sometimes the club do get that wrong, where they might just pick up someone based on their attributes and stuff, and mightn't get to know them, and then they mightn't fit in. So I think it's just about like kind of reading to judge a character, but also getting to know them. And our club do that well, like get to know players outside of just them being an athlete, which is important.
Do you feel lucky then that when they profiled Jen and brought her in, that she obviously you hit it off pretty well?
Yeah, definitely. I actually. Yeah, because when Jen got, when they were looking at Jen, I knew of her, but I'd never actually met up with her or came across, like, she was in DCU and I was in UL, and she's like a year or two behind me. But I remember we met up for coffee in Portlaoise after I knew she was getting drafted, and I never met this girl before, and we just met up, and it was just like we just hit it off straight away. And I remember texting Craig being like, oh my god, yeah, like she's so good, she's like so similar, like she's perfect, like she's going to get on so well. And I could already see we had so much similarities, and I think like she's real family orientated, really driven with what she does, and yeah, just like a funny kind of person. And she gets on so well at the club, like, so yeah, it's great having her on board, and she's really helped me as well the past 2 years, which I didn't think I actually needed until she came into the club.
Because when I spoke to you, you were flying high and happy and delighted and everything.
Yeah.
When you say that you didn't know you needed the help,
Yeah.
what was that in relation to?
I think it's just like, for example, back home, you could be watching the All Ireland's on, and like that kind of atmosphere where like it's so exciting, and then none of the girls understand that. And I'm like, oh my god, the All Ireland's on back home, I wish I was at home. They're like, why do you want to watch a match? I'm just like, but then Jen's like, oh my god, yeah, I know. Or we talk about things like Irish things that happen, and it's like, wow, like, yeah, just even like summer in Ireland, like it doesn't, like when it's sunny for them couple of weeks, it's like, oh, I wish I was at home, or things like that. Or even stupid things like TikToks, and we see like Irish people are like the kind of slang stuff. It's just like, it's funny seeing it, but like no one else really understands it. Mm-hmm. But in the same way, Jen also kind of caught me out a bit. So I don't know, the girls would say I'm a bit weird in the way I do things, or can be at times, and I'm just like, oh, this is what everyone does back home, and they're like, oh, okay. And then when Jen came over, I got caught out. They're like, no, that's just an Orla thing. No one does that back home.
So you couldn't use that anymore?
Yeah, no, she's like, nah, that's just her.
Is it like the way you relate to each other, I suppose, or just the connection over things? Like, as you said, I don't know why it came to mind, but when you said TikToks,
Yeah.
all I thought about was like Irish mammies when the sun is out, like stuff like that, like
Yeah, and they give you
stupid
like the
shit.
salad or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's funny stuff like that, or even like the whole chant about when the football all Ireland, like the Armagh chant, like we were just singing that around the house. Like none of the girls would get that, and even I think like someone on TikTok came about like, do you know that song Horse Outside? And
Yeah.
then we just started singing that. They're like, what are you saying? But yeah, I think especially over the past, I think it's you like when something kind of happens, whether it's like poor performance or injury or something happens maybe at home and you don't, and then you actually realize the distance about how far away Ireland is from Australia. It's nice just having someone who gets it in your corner. I know the girls around are supportive and they're just like, oh yeah, I get what you mean. Like I get where you're coming from. But Jen's like the only one who could properly understand that when you get a bit of homesick and things like that. So lucky we have each other that way. And I know she feels the same too. And it's just kind of like nothing really is stupid said. Like it's just like, oh, I miss my family. She's like, I so get that. I get where you're coming from. And vice versa with her. Like she's one of 4 as well. And she was pretty close to her family. But yeah, no, it's just little things like that. Or we'd send each other little Instagram things or TikTok things. And it's just funny.
It seems like you all make an effort to meet up with the other Irish players in the league. And it's obviously because, or one of the reasons is because you're so far away from home and you're trying to help each other out. But are all the clubs okay with that? Because that just wouldn't happen at home. Like,
I know. Yeah, it's well, a lot of like a lot of us have played. Like for example, Jen would have played with like Goldie, and Ailish O'Dowd, and then I would have played with like Ash Mack, Ash Maloney, Niamh Martin, Anna Rose, and all these players. So yeah, it's funny when we do that. So we try, like if you're meeting up if we're down in Melbourne, I probably wouldn't usually meet up with someone if I'm playing them that day. I'd meet up with someone on another team maybe. Or it was actually funny after we bet Melbourne Demons round 2, we were meeting up with Sinead Goldrick after and Blahi Mackin. And we were like, oh, this will be interesting now. Because before we were like, if we win, like it's obviously great, but if we lose and we're seen in the car getting with them, how's that going to look? But yeah, that's turned out well because we won. So it was fine.
did they turn up?
Yeah, they were our lift to bring us back. But yeah, it's just funny. I think you just kind of, like as much as people say, like we don't just talk about like AFL stuff, we talk about like other things. And it's nice to have like that insights and stuff. And even like when I was at home at Christmas time, I was meeting up with met up at Ash Maloney a few times and Anna Rose and just got to, because it was their first year out here, and got to hear what they thought of it and how we kind of are, as much as every club is different, I think all us Irish players are a bit similar in how we approach things. So it's good just hearing other people's perspective of it as well.
Is it like an advantage for you as an athlete to be meeting up and chatting with some of the other best athletes from Ireland as well?
Some of them give you good gossip, in fairness.
Oh right, okay.
But I know what you mean. It's good like getting their perspective, but I think also like being from Ireland, I think we all grew up, because we all played with our counties growing up and we're playing an amateur sport, and have probably, like if you're in college or if you're working and then rushing to training, doing that a couple of times a week and just thinking that's the norm. And then to come out here and to be kind of handed a job to be an athlete, and that's like you get paid for that and you get unlimited resources because of that. You get physio, dietitians, psychologists. You can get scans so much easier. Like you can see people like specialists, and you've so much access to vision and coaches. And I think for us it's still surreal, like because we just love playing for just, I suppose, the pride of it, but also because we love the game. So being out here and getting to do all that, obviously a lot more with the resources and everything we get offered, and to train all day is basically, I suppose, what everyone's kind of dream is really. So I think we kind of just go at it with like, oh wow, this is so good, like we're so lucky. Whereas other players, like Aussie players, they came into the system when they were younger and this is all they know, whereas we've come from a different background and our kind of bringing up a sport is completely different. So I think we really just are grateful for what we have with that.
I know it's probably a very small sample size of just you and Jen, but do you find that you're almost a little bit more process oriented, or like do things to the nth detail because you're more grateful because it's not available to you at home?
I think so. The girls would always joke on the team that, oh, I'm in the physio rooms all the time. Like I'm just in there. But I'm like, oh, I get access to physio. I'm just gonna go in and get a needle or get something released, like just because we can, like that, or even like follow-ups with like nutritionists or psychologists. It's like we have this access here, like we're just going to use them. But a lot of the girls, in fairness, on our team are pretty structured and routine, and love that kind of setup, and we're all pretty similar. Like we're all so like-minded. But I think me and Jen, like, as well, I suppose, not thinking that you're coming over here just to play, because you obviously have a life outside of just being an athlete, which I've slowly learned. But I think it is a big part of it. It's like, oh, this is what I'm here to do. And we kind of feel like we have that task to do, and to train and to win games and to be successful as well. So it's kind of a bit of both. Yeah, it's definitely something that I think a lot of the girls in general on our group do. But yeah, I think me and Jen do it as well, pretty much.
I heard you say that recently. Well, depends what you say recent, but that you have recently changed your mentality around, I suppose, your identity as Orla O'Dwyer, the athlete, to like
Yeah.
Orla O'Dwyer, more than an athlete. But that would imply that at one stage, how you were playing as a player was everything in your life.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's interesting because when you're an athlete and you're in that, you can kind of get sucked into just kind of doing that, and kind of putting all your eggs in that one basket. But it's important, I suppose, and I've learned kind of, I suppose, that there's so much else to it, and you have to enjoy the things outside of that too, and doing things outside of just training, because you can't, like, you're not going to play well every game, and you're not going to, I suppose, if you get injured or if something happens as well, and that gets taken from you, how are you going to adjust to it? So I think for me, like, I'm always, like, the last couple of years I've probably spent more time in Australia than I have at home each year, so it's like important to find things outside of that you like doing, whether it's going to the beach, meeting up with the girls, doing things outside of that, and even doing, like, I'm doing a bit of a course on the side as well. I'm doing like a business degree, and then also a Pilates, reformer Pilates too. So just trying to work on that, and kind of, because we all know being an athlete is such a short-lived career, that when that does stop, it's like, what have you to fall back on? So it's just trying to plant that seed, and also realize like what you want your future to look like as well. So yeah, it's definitely like the first 2 years I kind of felt, oh, I'm just here just to play, and then I go home and I play at home, and you're kind of here just to do that job. But I think the more I've spent here, and you realize that there is more to footy, and then we have a 6-month off season as well. So you can't just like be waiting for the season to start during that time. So a lot of us go traveling, and that's where I like to go home and spend time there, and try to kind of have that reset, and focus on other things, like with your friends and family, and doing things like that, which is really important as well.
Sounds like you have a lot going on.
Oh, I say it, but I actually don't.
But what I want to know is, has that realization come yourself, or have you been encouraged to go and pursue outside things?
Probably a bit of both. I think I'm definitely the type of person and player that when things aren't right outside, like when things are off a bit outside of training and AFL, it reflects on the field as well. So I feel like if I can get all that right, or have some sort of structure plan, and kind of switch off outside of just training and playing, that will hopefully make me play better as well. So I think for me, it's just realizing, especially now, it's like my 6th season with the Lions, and I think the first 2-3 years I admit I didn't know what I was doing, and it's just you kind of come in all guns blazing, and you kind of feel like you have a point to prove to yourself. You like know you're not going to be the most skillful player ever, but you got drafted, maybe if it's because of you've good fitness or you're good strength or whatever it is. So you just try and chase those things, and you want to get better, and you want to prove to the coaches and prove to your teammates that they can trust you. And I think that for me was kind of like my mindset for the first few years. It's like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do the best at kicking, but I'm going to be the fastest here. I'm going to try to be the strongest here, and just had those kind of mentalities. But yeah, I think now I've realized, like, it is a lifestyle. It's not just like just playing all the time, and you're living in Australia as well. Like, there's so much else outside of that.
Was that a big motivator for you, though, to show your teammates that you were up there at the top as the strongest, fastest, fittest? Because it seems from everybody I've spoken to that you're breaking fitness records every time you come back for pre-season. You're almost a better athlete than you were the previous season.
I think it definitely depends. Like, I know that's going to catch up with me someday. I know I'm going to come back and not be a record, but I think for me, it's like, especially when I first came in and kind of won the 2K time trial, which is what we do, that felt to me like, oh, this is like, that's like kind of like a good start for me. Like, okay, I've won them over in a way. So like, let's just grow from here. But I think I'm naturally very competitive and maybe quietly competitive. I don't like to show it too much, but I I think, yeah, a big thing I do is I like to work kind of hard when people aren't watching in a way. So whether it's training at home or if it's doing gym at home or whatever it is, I like to make sure that like I do everything with intent and I'm doing it like not just dilly dally and doing it. I'm actually doing it properly and wanting to get better and hit. I just love seeing like when you go to the gym and you can add more weight on this week or you're doing a run and you're doing it faster and you're shaving off time. Like I feel like that kind of motivates me a lot. So yeah, that's a huge thing of what I do. And I think coming back over, I kind of come back a bit before before preseason starts to kind of get back to see where everyone else is, what level I'm at, and then go from there. But yeah, obviously it's a great position to be in. But I know there's people chasing me behind me, and it's like wanting to keep that where I am as well. So yeah, no, it's a good motivator, and I think it's important as well to train like that.
Do you think a lot of athletes miss a trick when it comes to intent in what they're actually doing and trying to apply themselves in the right way every single rep, every single set? And I know you don't do that. Like sometimes you probably have to rein yourself in. Yeah. Like you're not a superhero.
Yeah,
but it seems like you do think about it and you probably do catch yourself from time to time and say, that was not a good set. Make the next set better.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like I said, like it's seen that like even this year, like us as a group, how in the gym everyone's getting so much stronger. And you thought that last year when you did your max test and oh, that's definitely the furthest I can go. And then you come back and you're able to squat more or bench more, and it's like, okay, wow, how far can your body actually go? And the same with running and conditioning. Like each year they try and make it harder for us, and they do. Like we're puffed during it, but then it's like, oh, we got through that. And it's like, I won't be able to ever do anything that hard again. And then they make it harder the next time. And it's just, I think it's just exciting seeing like how much you can push yourself. And I get a great kind of rush off doing that. Like I love like doing a really hard session and the feeling after it. So, but yeah, there's obviously times like when you plateau, and we all know like success isn't linear. You're not going to go straight up every time. And our S&C show us that all the time, the graphs of sometimes you have to dip then to go back up and have that deload. So yeah, it's definitely something that, yeah, we strive on in the club.
Have you, I'm not going to say be beaten, but have you not come first in the 2K time trial ever since you came out?
I haven't not come first, but I didn't beat my record this year, which was so annoying, but I still won. But yeah.
But you weren't competing with anybody else, you were just competing with yourself pretty much.
Oh, like there's girls that are still like there. But yeah, it's just like I wanted to beat my time.
So you were looking at the time more so than
the person,
whether you came first.
Yeah.
Although if you bet the time and someone else bet you, would you have been annoyed?
Yeah, I'd be more annoyed at that. No one wants to be bet. Yeah, but yeah, no, it's funny. It's just such a mental game, 2K. Like it's like, oh, everyone hates that.
But some players will be thinking, because a lot of Gaelic footballers, camogues and hurlers are probably listening to this, and they will be getting fitness tested come pre-season. What do you focus on for that fitness test in order to beat the time that you've set the year before?
Like the actual race or coming up to it? Like this?
Both.
So the actual race, I'm just told to follow this guy. So we have pacers, and like this year I like being told exactly what I'm doing. It's like, this guy's aiming for this time, he's going to try to do it with you. But this year they didn't tell me. They were like, just follow him. And I was like, okay. And then he just took off and I was like, I can't hold on here anyway. But so in the race, I'm just like, just try go as hard as I can. And then, because I know everyone can do a 2K, like you're not going to pull out of it. You just might slow up, but that's okay. So that's the kind of mentality I go with. And then
I suppose, you go all guns blazing from the get-go, or do you try and pace yourself?
Oh, I wouldn't. I'd go out of it pretty hard, and then kind of hold it. But like, I'd rather start harder and then slow off, and because I know I have the last lap, you'll just get adrenaline. But I wouldn't go like 100% out of it, but I'd go pretty quick. But then coming up to it, then we don't do any training for it. I just kind of do the program we're given. So we get given programs in the off season. I'm probably one to ask the S&C for the program earlier, just to get something in. Like I don't really like taking too much time off, whether it's different type of running, like going on longer runs. just like doing running in general. So yeah, I just kind of follow that program, and I like to train with people to kind of have that intent as well.
Do you always like to get it from the coaches, or for your weeks off where they might say you're off, do you ever just go and do it yourself? Not try to get you in trouble.
like when we have a good bit of time, like they kind of give us back. So we finish up the end of like the start of December, whenever it is, and then they'll probably tell us to take a month or two off training, and then they'll start giving out programs in February. But I'll probably do a couple of like longer runs, just enjoyable ones before that. So like 10Ks or whatever it is, 8Ks, whatever, just to do something. But I don't like getting into the actual running sessions like on a pitch, like the Broncos or like the actual shot.
They're not enjoyable.
Yeah, I'll wait till I'm given those, but until then I'll do like longer runs, which I like doing. Just change it up.
Some people don't like doing them at all. They think it's mental that you'd go on a 10K, but like I think it's if you stop running for a while and then you go back to it, that's when it's disgusting.
Yes.
But if you just keep going and drop the intensity, then
exactly. It's the fresh air and everything about it. But I remember even being at home, it was like peak of winter. I was like, I just want to go on a little run. But the ground was so icy, I actually wasn't able to go. I was like, had to pull up a few times. And
so that's why you live in Australia, realistically.
Come back out here.
But people will be wondering then, when you initially injured the shoulder, obviously contact was no. What does a day look like for you then, for rehab, running, etc.? Because I imagine you were potentially able to either do the bike or run.
Yeah, so straight away after it happened, like I suppose last week I was a bit more restricted what I could do. But lucky enough, I got like seen straight away the next day because we played the Sunday, so I got everything looked at the Monday and stuff. But even now, like the amount of one thing they do here, I don't know if it's an Australia thing, but they really want to get you moving things. So even after surgery, they're like, move it straight away. And the same here, they're like, don't let it seize up. So they wanted me to use it freely, like in day to day, whatever it is. It was pretty sore the first few days, but now it's a lot better. So day is pretty similar. They try to keep it as normal as possible. So when we have gym and skills, like I'll still do it. I might have to alter a few things in gym, and then training, like last week I was pulled out of a lot more, whereas last night I was basically in everything, which was good, and just had it strapped and stuff. So, and then it, like, I don't know if it, like, when you're in rehab you nearly do more, so
you should be at least.
Yeah, so I'm very diligent. Like I have my exercises at home, so I have to do them 3 times a day each day, and then you're seeing physios more, and then after training you're doing a bit of top up stuff. But yeah, some off legs, so the bike's back, unfortunately. But bit of bike, you can actually chase some heavy weight, and like when I wasn't playing last week as well, I got to actually do more running. So it's crazy how you lose that like pre-season running when you're in season. So got to get a bit introduced to that again, which was fun. But
you love it, sure.
Yeah, God, it's just I just like keeping something. I want something to do, so that they know I'm like that. So yeah, you nearly do more, which is good, and to keep it normal.
But you wouldn't have that opportunity to push those things if you were fit. So do you try and reframe it as like an opportunity to almost get a little bit better conditioned for when you do come back?
Yeah, definitely. So I think like, yeah, kind of let everything, like that running session we had last week, you just kind of give it everything, and it's like, oh, this is going to make me fitter when I go back. And the same with gym, like I got an opportunity to probably lift heavier because I wasn't playing that week, instead of just doing more power-based stuff. So you kind of chase numbers, which is nice as well. And then this week, even getting back into more kind of strength stuff as well, you kind of get to, get used to that again and get your body used to it.
When you're in that session, do you focus or think about, this is going to benefit me for when I come back, the game that you're eyeing up?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you get something gets taken from you, like you're out for a couple of weeks, you actually naturally come back with more intent, because I think like during season you can go through so many waves of like, it's every week, it's like game after game after game. So everyone kind of, there's probably a natural dip mid-season because people are a bit tired, bodies are sore, flying all the time, whatever it may be. So when you actually get taken out of that and get thrown back in a couple of weeks later, you kind of have kind of like a forced taper in a way, where you're kind of like, I'm so lucky to be back here, and then you have that intent and you are a bit more fresher. So that's the kind of way I'm kind of going to look at it, in a way, about like changing your narrative about that and coming back more fresher.
By the time this goes out, you might actually be back on the field, which will be great.
Yeah.
Hopefully back for the last couple of rounds, and then into playoffs. I might as well say it, no team has ever done back-to-back AFLWs.
Yeah.
Do you even think about that or talk about it? Or do you just go media answer game by game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like it's definitely like obviously started the season. It was like, wow, let's do back to back. Like how amazing would that be? It hasn't been done before. But I think we kind of look at it more as processes. So like we have to tick off boxes. So we have to win a certain amount of games firstly to make finals, win a certain amount then to get into top whatever it is, and then to get into finals. So I think it's just about more looking as a step and ladder rather than just looking at that top goal of going back to back. And it's like if it started in preseason, it's like we need to be first of all we need to be mentally fit, then we need to get physically, then we need to get stronger, then we need to do our practice games, and then we need to go from there. And it's just like kind of like a step and ladder the whole way up, and then you're kind of crossing them off as you go.
When you compare Premiership winning seasons to runners-up seasons,
Yeah.
is it just as simple as we just got to the final and we didn't win that game? Was there any like noticeable differences like year to year on reflection?
I think there definitely is. Like I think that when I look back at 2022 when we lost the grand final, we actually had a better season. So we hammered every team up along and we just lost the final. Whereas last year we had a bit more adversity. We lost a few key players. We lost 3 games. We had really close prelim final, which we almost lost, and a really close semi-final. And we ended up winning by I think maybe 10, 15 points in the end. So I think having that adversity, we kind of look at it sometimes as, did we have it too easy in 2022? Like, and then when things weren't going away, we weren't used to losing, or we weren't able to, when someone got injured, our captain got injured that day, were we able to change and adapt? Whereas we had so much of that last year. We were forced to change. There was people in and out from injury. People were playing different positions, and we knew what to do. And we had calls for when we were down by 2 points, when we were up, when we needed to save the game, when we needed to win the game. So we brought that into this year as well. So hopefully that stands to us come finals.
A lot of your game is based around pressure and intensity. So it's about putting pressure on the opposition, both sides of the ball, attack and defence.
Yeah.
When things weren't going your way, did you start to feel pressure yourselves or put pressure on yourselves because it was just foreign to you? Because you, as you said, bet every single team up to then.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of like we're the type of team that if we're not loud or we're not getting around each other, that's when we're not playing well. And we're kind of, when we're in our shells, that's when we kind of are losing. So I think naturally like that, when things aren't going like they're supposed to and we get quieter, and then the other team start getting louder and they get a goal or they do a great tackle or whatever it is. And then they kind of, like, it's a game of momentum as well. So like even it takes one person to do a chase down tackle and that changes everything, or like take someone to take a mark and go for a goal and that changes everything. So sometimes I feel like in that, when I look back to that grand final in 2022 that we lost, it was like you're almost waiting for someone to do that one thing and to spark the team, and it just didn't happen. And then
because everybody was waiting.
Yeah, exactly. And then it came to final whistle win and we were down and we lost. Whereas last year was a lot different, where I think because it was so fresh as well about losing a grand final, we knew what that felt like as well. So we knew going in what it was going to be like, the intensity of it, and we knew that not to wait for anyone this time. Everyone has their own things they need to do. Everyone can bring pressure to a game, and I think we really look at pressure as like nearly like disposals as well. It's like when you mightn't get the ball as much as you want, but if you have so many pressure acts, and then you make the kick on the opposition and that gives us a turnover by intercept marking, well, that's a win for everyone. So yeah,
from the outside looking in, like in terms of that pressure, it kind of goes hand in hand with you girls being quite a physical team.
Yeah.
Do you find that when you're playing against opposition teams, they might try to almost out physical you from time to time? Like sometimes a few of the tackles might have a little bit extra in them for you?
Yeah, sometimes. And I feel like in the past we've always kind of been known as a fit team, but we probably have been in the past seen as a team that you can kind of throw around a bit. So like this year now especially, I feel like in general we're a lot stronger and we're not getting pushed around the ball as much, and we're a lot more physical and can match those bigger sided teams. But yeah, it's like any tackle, like it's like anything, like there's some teams that are going to go more harder than others, and it's just about adapting to that. And one thing we do is like if someone goes after someone, it's not just them v them, it's like the whole team as well. So I think we're good at that, backing each other up as well.
Is that new for you? Because I can't remember when it was, but I remember one time watching on TG Carter, you kicked a goal.
Oh, and she pushed me.
Somebody pushed you, and you kind of looked at her as if like, what, did she just push me?
Oh, that was against Adelaide last year. I remember it was my second goal, and then after she just gave me a push after, and I've never gotten because I think because usually I'm just running away from everyone, so I actually never really get pushed. And I was going to celebrate with people, and then she pushed me, and then I was like a bit taken back, and I went back to try and do like a little weak kind of push, and then Dax, I think our key forward, came over and just pushed her, and I was like, yeah, thanks for that. But they actually showed it the other day in slow motion. I was like, oh my god, that was so bad. But yeah, I think it's just adjusting to that, and just knowing that people are going to bumper you, they're going to be pushing and shoving you, and like some people are great at it, but I'm like I said, I don't really do that often. And
Does that happen more over here than at home?
I think so too. Yeah, I think it definitely does. Even like the girls would be some of the girls like, I can't believe you shake hands with your opposition before the game. I'm like, I'm always shaking hands, telling them how the day is, asking them like, I don't know. They're like, no, never shake hands with someone. Like some people just have that white line fever. Yeah, like I suppose I didn't really do it that much at home either. I'm more of, I don't know, I kind of just like to play the game more than do all that kind of stuff. But yeah.
But like some of my mates have played Aussie rules out here as well, and they said that like, yeah, it's very physical off the ball, especially in the lower levels, because you only have one referee and the pitch is massive, so they can't see everything.
Yeah, true.
There's a lot of sledging, and like from GA at home, there's two ways you can go with it. You can either sledge back and like give them a bit of abuse, or Sean Quigley from Fermanagh was on the backdoor cut with us, and he said he usually just tries to distract them by having a chat with them, asking them what they had for dinner last night and stuff like that, and that actually annoys them more because they know that they're not getting to you.
Yeah. Some of the girls are like there's a few now that are chatters, but I remember one time last year I even found myself in the forward line for like a setup, and Dax, who's known to talk in our key forward, I actually couldn't stop laughing at the stuff she was telling her opposition. I actually had to move out of there. I was like, swapping me on the wing. I'm not staying in here. I'm just laughing so much. But some people have the chat, some people don't. But yeah, it's funny. And one thing I noticed as well is how much here you can't, like, you know, at home, like with refs, people kind of abuse them a bit and throw chat at them and say, oh, ref, what's this about? You can't do any of that here. You get 50-metre penalty straight away. So a lot of it, people take the anger out on their opposition more because they can't say anything to the umpires.
It's almost the opposite way at home. They let you say whatever you want to the opposition.
I know. I can't believe they do that. Yeah, even to refs back home. I'm just like, wow. But I suppose when you're out of it for so long, and then you're like, okay, yeah.
It's probably a better way of doing it over here, to be fair, like, because the referee probably doesn't deserve as much abuse as they get at home. Depends on the referee. But like, in relation to when you play the Irish players, then is it a bit weird when you come up against the two Ashlings or Anna Rose or any of your former teammates?
Well, I suppose like you just kind of, I see them more after the game. Like I see a few if they're like, when I mark Sarah Rowe or if I'm on Niamh Kelly on the wing, it's like a shake hands at the start and you might say something about, oh, the weather's lovely or whatever, and then it's like, okay, off we go. But I think because we know each other so well.
Not today, you won't be saying the weather's lovely.
And we know each other so well and we know what we're like, it's kind of more competitive, like even after the games, and you're like, oh, we had like a good battle there or whatever. And then that's when you get to meet the other Irish girls after. But like I wouldn't see Aisling Maloney because she's down marking Jen in the back line and I'm out here on the wings. So little things like that. But yeah, it's funny. It's like an extra bit of rivalry when you play an Irish person.
So I had Erica on. It actually went live yesterday, so you probably didn't see it. But she said that a real role model for her growing up was you.
Oh.
Which is nice.
That's so nice.
But it's probably true, and it's probably truer the more younger girls that come out here. Do you see yourself as a role model for those girls at all, or do you just try to be yourself?
I definitely just try to be myself. Like, I suppose, like, you kind of playing a woman's sport, you kind of like to think that you're inspiring younger generations or doing that. But I think it's always like, I don't know, I'm really humbled hearing it when people say like, oh, I look up to you or whatever. Or sometimes I get messages on Instagram or whatever about girls who want to come over and try play, or even sometimes if I go home and go to schools or visit some clubs, and you actually don't realize how much people actually watch it over here because you feel like it's so far away, but people actually watch what you do. And I think now, especially with social media too, you can see so much more insights into what players do. And like I know a lot of younger players back home probably following all the Irish players out here, and you can see glimpses of what Australia looks like, what they do in their day to day. And it's like you get way more access to them, and you can even message them. So I think like growing up, I never had that. So I think it's pretty cool to be able to do that and see that. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird when they say that you're their role model. It's like, oh.
But they see a lot of you because TG Carr obviously show all the games.
Yeah.
But like, if it's piss and rain at this time, which it probably is at home on a Sunday morning, it's the only sport on a Sunday morning. So naturally, everybody's going to watch it.
Yeah, and I think COVID really helped that back home when sport wasn't happening and everything was cancelled, and the only thing on really was AFLW. It really got people behind it, and I think it's great. And even like from our grand final last year and me going home at Christmas and many people saying it to me, I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize he watched it or saw it. So yeah, it's really nice to see, and it's great that TG Carr are showing games and showing more of them as well. So yeah, it's really good, because I know when I came out here, prior to coming out here, when there was just maybe Cora, Sarah, a few out here, I couldn't see any of their games. You might see one odd clip on Twitter of them doing one of them a goal.
Mike could usually share it or something.
Yeah, something like that. So, and you might get to see it, but you actually didn't know what the games were, and that's why when I came out here, I didn't know anything about the rules and I didn't know what to expect. So people have that now and can watch it, and I know even a lot of people watched the men's finals and watched the men's because it's on as well. So it's great.
But they need to change the start time of the final if they want to retain the Irish. But we're not obviously the biggest.
Well, the real supporters will get up and watch it.
Yeah, exactly. But the ideal games are those Saturday night games, because that's Sunday morning.
Yeah.
So they're the best ones to watch, or the Friday night ones as well, because they're Saturday morning. But yeah, I don't think they're going to change it for little old Ireland, unfortunately. You touched on there that there's so many Irish girls out here.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes unsaid, probably because, like, as Irish people, we can be a little bit more private, and when people give us compliments and whatnot,
we can't take
them.
Or say sorry.
It's probably a humility thing.
Yeah.
But like, obviously, and like, I've spoken to a good few Australian coaches out here as well that have asked me about the speed, but there must be something internal in terms of drive that you feel like gives you an advantage as an Irish athlete over somebody from somewhere else. Doesn't have to be Australia. I know
a lot of people do say like, oh, the Irish are so fast or whatever, and even in the men's you see it as well. I think it's just because we play a game at home for 60 minutes, and you're not rotating off, and you're covering so much ground, and you play 30 minutes and you play 30 minutes. And it's just, you cover that much ground, and there's not really stops. Like, like with America, you can stop, push back, kick, chip, whatever. It's just go, go, go. And it's constantly like that. Like, even when some of the girls come over to Ireland and they see a game and they're like, wow, you just don't stop running. And it's like, oh, well, this is normal for us. And even like, I'll never forget my first so when we play like a practice game before you play round one, and it was back in 2020, and I was starting on the bench, so I was interchange. So back home, the bench, you're a sub, you're not playing for the last 10 minutes. That's what I thought. And then I remember I was rotating forward, and I didn't really know. I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll play like the last 10 minutes anyway. And then 5 minutes into the game, okay, Orla, you're on. I was like not expecting it. I didn't even know that interchanges were a thing. So like, instead of playing 100% game time like most people do back home, like most players are playing 70-80% game time. I know you're doing more physical tackling and that kind of thing, but like running wise, you're not running, like, sometimes it depends on the position, but you wouldn't be running as much as you would back home. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Do you think that's safer, playing with the interchange and playing less minutes but having breaks in between, than potentially playing for the whole game at home and only coming on for 5-10 minutes? Like,
yeah,
because the argument would be, and I've heard it from a rugby league standpoint, is if you're rolling on subs too frequently, the intensity is higher, so then the hits are higher or harder, so then the risk of injury is higher. But I would imagine because you're all less fatigued, the risk of injury would actually be lower. You'd feel better on the field. It's
kind of hard, because I think it, like, I'll go back to momentum. Like, if a team's doing really well and then it's quarter time, and then it's like, oh, well, that kind of kills it. And then it's like trying to get back up for the next quarter. Or like, if you're going in after a quarter and you're on top, but then you have to hold reset again, so you lose that momentum. Whereas I think back home you can you can keep that momentum. And then as well, like, sometimes the interchanges, if it's a windy game, which some of them are, and the ball gets stuck on the far wing, you mightn't actually get to rotate at all, because you can't run 100 meters over to change because the ball's live over there. So a lot of the time the interchanges don't go as planned. So instead of being off, you're meant to come on in 5 minutes, you could still be there 12 minutes later, and you mightn't get on because it's a windy game. So it's kind of like, I prefer just be on and play all the time, but that's because I just like being involved all the time. But Yeah, I wouldn't really know really about the injury aspect of it, but sometimes, yeah, like some people come in fresh, ready to go, whereas other people can come in and like a bit more kind of scared off it because they haven't been in yet. Whereas like if you're coming up against someone who's been in for the last 10 minutes and they're already warmed up, ready to go.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking from a coach's perspective, you know yourself, like there's a lot of games at home where the coach will use one sub.
Yeah.
And 5 minutes to go, they'll bring them on, or
I
two
know.
subs and they'll just bring them
Yeah.
on. And I think it's underutilized in the GAA.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely think, yeah, it's a thing where you could rotate people through.
Is it tough when the opposition change somebody onto you and they're fresh and you're potentially not?
Yeah, like that's definitely a mental thing. Like even if I'm on the wing and like I've already gone off and I'm coming on and that same player hasn't gone off yet, you know, oh, I've got a few extra runs on her because she's more tired or whatever it is. So yeah, it definitely does affect. And like it's interesting because there used to be unlimited game change rotations, but now they've capped it at like 55, 56 a game. Whereas before we used to be doing 70, 80. We used to rotate so much.
But that's still a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. Whereas now they've capped it, so I think everyone has to be like around the 50, and some people don't use that half as much. Some people might only use 30. It just depends on the style people want to play and the coach, the players they have.
So you've touched on there that earlier that you've been out here for quite a long time and you actually spend more time in Australia now than you do with Ireland.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But from all your conversations in the past and our chat previously, like you seem like, I know it's weird to say, but you seem like a bit of a home bird, even though you're living abroad. Like you love
Definitely
home.
A home bird, yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like I think because I've signed till 2027, so up until then, I'm like, God, that's basically my whole 20s in Australia, which is so weird to think of. Because growing up, I would have never even thought that. But it's funny, like the more, I don't know if it's the more you get older, everyone thinks this, but the more you get older, you realize like how much you appreciate the closer things to you. So like home, family, all that kind of stuff. And I think Jen would say the same as well. It's the more you're actually away from a place where you're from that you actually value it a lot more. And I, like, we always make jokes about like how like Ireland's so small and it's like, but it's so not like, it's so nice. Like there's nothing that compares to it. So I definitely love being home and I love going home and being around family, and I've got so much cousins and friends as well. So it's nice to be around, and I think you don't really realize that until like, you move away and then you're like kind of on your own and somewhere else. So yeah, I definitely think like, I know I spent most of my time out here, but I think as I get older and the more kind of I know what to expect out here now, that the more time I will spend at home and kind of start kind of getting like, I suppose I think I do want to end up back home in Ireland. So it's just about figuring out like how that's going to work. And yeah, but I don't know.
It's a bit away anyway. But
yeah, definitely.
It's interesting because Dara spoke about homesickness before we recorded this, and then
he's been here way longer than I have.
Yeah, but Barry has talked about it to me, Barry
Yeah.
O'Connor, and like Ray Ellen said about it. But
All
for
the
some
Irish
reason,
guys,
all the
yeah.
Irish talk about it, even Erica too. But
Yeah.
like for some reason, because you have been quite successful out here, people from the outside would say that they wouldn't expect that you would feel homesick.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it's like anything. Like if you see on Instagram at the beach every day, like you're going to put up the good stuff. You're not going to put up when you're feeling homesick or feeling down or whatever that is. But yeah, no, I think for me, it's like I love the lifestyle here. I love the sun. I love the active lifestyle. I love what I do. I love that I get paid to play a sport. But I just think it's the people. Like you can't compare to like the Irish people and like the things we have back home that no other country has. And I think it's when you actually travel and you're away from that you realize, oh, that's actually really special what we have back home. And it's like I know like a lot of the Irish girls say it, and like the lads would too, about just like you do get that waves of that, but it's only kind of short term with the homesickness kind of thing as well. So I think for me it's just like figuring, like the past couple of years I've probably been lost with what I want to do, not knowing like all I know is I'm just playing football. I have like a contract for this many years. But when you actually look at things outside of that, like your life, and you might see your other friends back home, like whether it's buying houses or moving up in like different jobs or whatever it may be, and then you just feel like, oh, I'm like 26, but I'm chasing just a football around every weekend. It's like, oh, what else is there to that?
Keep doing it.
So
I would say.
yeah, it's just different. People have, I suppose, they're at different points in their life and people's journeys. Like a lot of people would say, like I still feel like I'm a 21, 22-year-old, and then because I suppose where I'm at, but then other people say, well, you have so much more extra life experience from being here. But I'm like, oh, do I actually? So it's kind of just what way you look at it as well. But yeah, definitely homesick, and I'm definitely a home bird, I think, at the end of it all.
But spoken from experience, it's very hard to live the same lifestyle when you go back to Ireland. So
Yeah.
you almost have to weigh up family and home and friends
Yeah.
versus like
Yeah.
lifestyle, or
Yeah.
else you can try to go back to Killinall and still get up at 5:30 a.m.
Yeah, it's so
Open a Pilates studio.
yeah, it's interesting because everyone's like when I say it to an Aussie here, they're like, "Oh, just tell your family to move out," and I'm like, "It's not that easy." Like people are all so priority. Like my family's just not going to move out here and leave like their parents at home and their brothers and sisters. But I think a lot of that is to do with yourself as well. Like a lot of people say, "I'm going to move to Australia. I'm going to have like the best life ever," and then they go home and they're like, "Oh, like it's nothing's changed. It's like blah blah blah." But I think it's about like where you are and the point you're at too. So like for me, it's like ideally like you'd like to be getting up early doing all that back home, but like you still can to an extent as well. But yeah, and it's just like you can't really replicate what exactly you're doing here because obviously weather and different kind of things and all that kind of stuff. But you can try to do the best you can and just focus on like what you want to do, like whether it is like opening up something like back home or working towards something, a goal you can do in both countries as well. I think the biggest thing for me is I kind of saw the two kind of countries as two separate lives in a way. Like when I'm here, I feel like my life back home's on pause and vice versa. When I'm in Australia, I think when I'm back home, I think everyone here like is doing way more than I should be doing, whatever. So I think it's just about like putting them together and realizing that it's like the same wherever you are. It's just where you are in a way.
Your social media is very heavily, I suppose, like you do well on social media. You put together nice posts.
Do you
They do well. Like you look like you know what you're doing anyway.
Oh, I don't know.
And you said you share the highlights.
Yeah.
Is that just something that you enjoy doing, or do you think about it, or?
I think it's definitely easier to do in Australia. People would probably say a lot of our team are all like that. Like we like posting things and we like putting up things. And I think when you're around people that are like that, it's just so natural to do. Whereas back home, like you're not going to be going around Rainy Castle putting up stories of yourself going around the Rocket Castle on your daily walk.
Although the Aussies would probably think that was great.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh wow, that castle," and I'm just like, "Is that where you live?" I'm just like, "No." Yeah, it's definitely. I don't know. I'm pretty like I don't like. There's a lot of people who do it way better than me and put way more out there. But I think I don't know. I don't really know what I'm doing. I was kind of winging it a little bit, but yeah.
Is it because of social media though that you feel like when you're in Ireland, everything's happening in Australia, and when you're in Australia, everything's happening in Ireland?
Yeah, definitely. And I think me and Jen always talk about it. It's like when you're back home and you see all the girls, they're going on these runs, they're down in Sydney, they're gone up traveling, they're doing these gym sessions in these cool gyms. You're like, wow, they're doing so much, and like we're not doing anything. We're just running.
That's what you're doing. That's all.
And then you come back over, like when I came back over in March, and it's like, oh, like no one's around. Everyone, like it's just that one session when everyone comes together and does it, and you just post that kind of a thing. But yeah, I think because I know that now, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm happy to do my own thing, and wherever that is, like people are just going to obviously put up when they're away and do fun things. Like it's just any part of social media, really.
The hardest thing to get your head around, I suppose, from a football camogie perspective coming out here is the fact that you might potentially not play Gaelic football or camogie at least for a good number of years, and you haven't played in a while. Like,
yeah, I know.
Is it something that you miss or something that you would like to go back to eventually?
Yeah, definitely. Like I think I didn't, like I never knew, like I thought I was only coming out here for a year. Like I only deferred my like college in UL for 1 year, and I was like, yeah, I'll be back in a year, and then here I am like a few years later. And I think it's like that. It's like I think I saw two articles today about like Jimmy Madden maybe wants to go back and play with Dublin, and the same with Zach too. He wanted to go back and play with Laois, and it was so nice to see that, because it's like as much as they live like the high life here and get everything, but they still at the end of the day want to go back and play with their county. And I think that's something I want to do. And even just seeing the success, like when I see like the camogie girls this year getting to like how far they've gotten, and it's like, oh, like how good would it be being part of that and stuff. So
well, there's enough here that you would make a big difference back home.
Yeah, but it's obviously hard. Like the way the seasons are gone now, it's hard to, like, I know a few girls had done both and came over kind of late in the preseason, but I'm also the type of person that when I do something, I like doing 100%. So I'm either 100% playing back home or I'm 100% here, and if that means like I don't like missing pre-season. Like I couldn't come in like week 8 or 9 and just play. I'm just like, no, I need to be here from the start, and kind of a thing. So it's definitely something I would like to stay to do at some stage, but I don't know. We'll see how the body clock goes.
Well, hopefully you give 100% to our quickfire questions then.
Okay, good.
I listened earlier to your previous answers, so I'll see if they're
really?
still
I
the
don't even
same
remember them.
answers.
I
The
think
first one is proudest achievement to date.
I have 2. I'm going to obviously the grand final last year come after losing the one previously, but I think personally it would have been winning All Australian 2022, being like the first Irish female to get that, and I think it was kind of a really like wow kind of moment, and it made me realize that the risks I've taken to come here, and like kind of not like I had such a linear success of like I want to be a PE teacher, I want to play for Tip, and I want to live in Tip. Like that was my only thing I wanted to do. So for that to change and to actually come full circle around and to get that award and be on the All Australian team was probably the proudest moment.
You didn't say that last time.
That
That had actually happened.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
I didn't know what
so-
it was back then. I didn't realize how big a deal it was.
Favorite athlete of all time?
I think I'm gonna say Simone Biles. I think just what she's done, and even how she didn't perform how she didn't even partake 2021 with the Tokyo ones, and then to come back and do what she did. Like there's no one close to her, and I just love what she does. But yeah, no, she's just such a goat.
Yeah, very impressive.
I can't remember who I said last
I
time.
knew you were wondering who it was. Katie Taylor.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I definitely wanted to say a female, but yeah, I'm gonna say Simone Biles.
I actually don't ask this question anymore, but I copied and pasted these from the last day. So
Okay.
artists you've been listening to a lot recently, and I do remember who you said last time.
Definitely changed, I reckon. I'm going to say Zach Bryan and Grace Abrams.
Yeah, well, you said Rihanna last time. So.
And a bit of Katy Perry, actually, since
There
the
you go.
grand final.
Grand final.
She was there performing for the men's this year.
Yeah.
Rihanna.
You
That's
like a
definitely
bit of a
fun.
throwback then.
Yeah, I do. But yeah, no, Zach Bryan and Country is the main one this one.
What's the biggest thing you've learned in the last 12 months?
That's hard. I think for me, it's just like I feel like life's just going so quickly. I don't know if you think the same, but I think just staying present, like all the time. A lot of people, and I'm known for it as well. Just like in the off season, you're wishing for pre-season starting, and when you're in pre-season, you're wishing for the season, and then you're wishing for the finals, and you're wishing for your off-season holiday, whatever it is. I think it's just about staying present with what it is and enjoying the journey, and not just waiting for like the next best thing, because you have to kind of make that happen where you are now.
Well, hopefully you're back and you're able to stay present
Yeah.
soon on the field. What would you tell your 18-year-old self?
This is probably the same as the last time. I can't even remember it, but I'd probably say just like not like your success isn't kind of linear. So like you can have so many ups and downs, and don't be so narrow-minded or like staying in that swimming lane of where you want to go. Like swim in the ocean and see where you want to go. Go anywhere. Like it's just more about, I think, taking experiences. Like when I was younger, I didn't even know AFL wasn't a thing, and look where I am now. And the same with like lots of people where they go. So I think it's just like taking opportunities as they come, but also not being too hard on yourself.
That's a great message to finish the podcast. Orla, thanks a million for coming back on.
Thanks for having me. It was great.